Hi everybody, welcome to this new video on my GenAI Nerd channel, and in this video I want to explain you how we can leverage AI for data collection. More specifically, I want to show you how we can create an agentic workflow to automate data collection on companies. And in order to do so, I will use a specific tool called n8n. And this is a great tool because it allows us, without coding, to start building agentic workflows. And that means workflows in which we can do automation by relying on AI agents that can leverage large language models. And so what I will do is I will show you a specific example, namely where we will try to build an agentic workflow to collect company descriptions for particular companies. And I will show you step by step how you can use n8n to do so. So let me go to my n8n environment so that I can start explaining what you need to do. So here I go to the website n8n.io, and then you can sign in. Now, I already have an account, but you can also start a free trial, and then you can use n8n for free for 2 weeks. I now have a subscription, so I would then here sign in. But if you don't yet have a subscription, you can try out a free trial for 2 weeks. So when you sign in, you enter in your dashboard, which will look like this. So here you will have your workflows. And now we want to create a new workflow. And we can do that by simply clicking here on Create Workflow, and then we can start building a workflow from scratch. And just to explain, what do I want to do? I have here in my Google Sheets a database, and in this case it's with a limited number of companies, but so I have here 3 companies where I have the name, in which industry they are active, and I have names of at least one of the founders of these companies. And what I want to get now as output is actually an in-depth company description for each of these 3 companies. So that's the final output that I would like to generate here. And so let me show you how we can do that in n8n. So as a first step, we simply have to initiate the workflow, and you can make it much more complex, but now we can simply manually trigger the workflow. That means if we click here, the workflow will start. And now we have to think about what is the first step in our workflow. And here the first step will be that actually n8n can read information from our Google Sheet. So now we have to press here on plus, and now we can find for Google Sheets. And so we have here Google Sheet options. And here we can see all kinds of functions that we now can do. And what we want to do is to read rows from my Google Sheets. So let me take a look where we can find something that is about reading rows. We have to go down, and here we have get rows in sheet. So that's what we need. So we click on that. And then immediately I will need to provide some information. First of all, I now, of course, have to give it credentials. So I need to be able to go into my Google Sheets. Now, I already have created credentials, but here you can simply create new credentials, and then you can actually simply sign in with your Google account, and then you can give permission to n8n to talk with your Google Sheets. So that's actually quite straightforward. I already did that now. So we can close this. So it's now connected with my Google Sheets account. So what is the resource that I want to use? So indeed, I want to have a sheet within a document. So now we can confirm that. The operation that we want to do is to get rows. So that's okay. And here, of course, we have to indicate now which document we want to use. And the name of my document is company. So this is a Google Sheet on my Google Drive. And the name of the sheet is sheet 1. Yes, so this is all confirmed. And so now we can simply press on execute step. And then it will already read the rows from my Google Sheet. And indeed, we can see now as output, I get the table that I have in my Google Sheet. So now actually we have already created the first step in our workflow, where all the information from my Google Sheet has been kind of transferred to n8n. And you see here, I now have 3 items, meaning 3 different rows. And now we will have the next step, and this is kind of the most fundamental step. Now, based on the information in my Google Sheet, I want to create an AI agent that can collect a company description. Now, when we use AI agents, the basic of an AI agent is always that we will need to give it a prompt that it needs to execute. And actually, so we need to prepare a prompt. So let us briefly go now first to ChatGPT, so that we can kind of prepare a prompt that we then can use in our agent. So here I want to kind of create a prompt in order to able to find in-depth information about companies. So let us now write what we call a chain of thought prompt, where we will give it a specific task, but also some steps to execute. And so now I can write, you are an expert in retrieving information from companies. The user will give you a name of a company and one founder. Based on this information, you should execute the following steps. And now, like in a chain of thought prompt, I will formulate the steps. Step 1, go to the internet and find as much information as possible about the company. Step 2, double check the information to increase accuracy. And step 3, based on the collected information, provide an in-depth description of the company. Yes, so this is a kind of typical prompt that we can do. And let's now execute the prompt for the first company in my Google Sheet. So now I can say company name. And so the first company in my Google Sheet is A352. So we go back to ChatGPT and say A352. Oh, now let me restart the prompt because I still have to give the name of the founder. So I will add here name of the founder. And the name is Dr. Jürgen Wolf. So that we will add. Yes. And now I will send it. And now it should search the web. Yes. So it's searching the web. And we get an extensive description of this company. Yes, so this is now already, you see, quite an extensive description in ChatGPT. And this is kind of the description I would like to add to my Google Sheet. Now, of course, what I don't want to do is now for every single company to do that in ChatGPT. I want to automate this in an agentic workflow. But this is the prompt that we will need to do so. So I've already copied this prompt because this is the prompt we will need in our n8n workflow. So now I'm ready to prepare my agent. So let me press plus, and now I can go to AI, and here I have AI agents. And now I will need to formulate quite some stuff for this agent. And an important thing is an agent always relies on a large language model, on a chat model. So here we will have to define which chat model we want to use. So here I can press on plus, and then I can choose between all kinds of large language models. You have here Anthropic, that's the Claude one. You can use OpenAI, DeepSeek, whatever you want. Now I want to use here the Croc chat model. Why? Because Croc is actually a platform. Let me briefly go to the website so that you can see it, croc.com. It is actually a platform where you can talk with open source large language models. And the huge advantage of that is that you can actually talk with these models for free. So you just need to have an API key from Croc, and with this API key you can communicate with different open source models, so like Llama and Mistral, for free. The only thing we will need is an API key. And how can we get it? So we can here go to developers and then free API key. And then you can just click on create API key and then you will get an API key. Of course, you will have to log in, but you don't have to give any credit card information or something like that. You simply need to do create API key and then you will have an API key. And then we can go back to our workflow. And indeed, again, we will have to give credentials. Yeah? So if I click here on create new credentials, indeed what you see, what you will need to do is to provide your API key. That's the only thing you need to do here in terms of credentials. Now, I have already given my API key, so that's my Croc account here. Here we can choose which kind of model we want to use. And here, for instance, we can now use the Llama model of Meta, but you also have quite some alternatives if you want to experiment with different models here. And again, here we can use these models completely for free. So this is the chat model that we had to create. So let me now go back to my agent here. And now actually what I need to do here is actually provide a prompt. Yeah? So because in the end, here we need to stipulate what the agent needs to do, and we do that by providing it a prompt. And so now I need to kind of provide a prompt. So I can say define below. And now here I want to again copy paste that prompt that I had formulated before. Yeah? So I now simply copy paste my prompt that I've written in ChatGPT. But now, of course, instead of doing it for one specific company, I want to do that for every company in my database. And actually what I now simply need to do is, you see here on the left-hand side, we see the kind of output from the prior step. So in the prior step, we have read information from Google Sheets, and here we get the output. And so company name is actually here. So now I can just drag this part to this place, company name. Yeah. So it's now not yet at the right place. So let me try it again here. So I want to have it here. It's not yet. Let me just press company name here. That might be easier. Company name. And so this green thing is now the company name. So I will remove this. And for name of the founder, I need to do the same thing. So I look here, WHU founders, that's where the name of the founder is. And I add that here. Yeah. So now it will kind of, for every item in my Google Sheet, kind of fill in the name and the founder in the prompt and then execute the prompt. Now, in order for our agent to work, we need to do one more thing here. Namely, as you might have seen in the ChatGPT prompt, we want the agent to be able to go to the internet. Now, if we just use the chat model of Croc, it's not able to go to the internet. So here we need to give an additional tool. So here I have to press on plus. So here I need an additional tool. And one of the tools that is available in n8n to allow an agent to go to the internet is the SERP API. Yeah? So this is actually an API that will allow your agent to go to the internet. And again, what do we need here in terms of credentials? We will need an API key. And now let me briefly go to the SERP API website. So let me go down. We don't want to have this sponsored link. So here is the SERP API. And again, here you can sign in. And actually, when you sign in, you can get some free credits. So again, you don't have to give any credit card information. You simply get some free credits, and then you can create again an API key. So that's what you need to do. And if you have done that, you can enter your API key here, and then you have provided your credentials. I already did that, so my credentials are here. So this is the only thing we need to do here, and in that way, our agent can go to the internet. Yeah, so let me briefly now show you how it already looks like. Let me make it a bit nicer here. So we have a chat model and we have a tool. This is what we need for the AI agent to work. We have provided our prompt. So now I can try out and do execute step so that we can see whether the agent is able to now develop a company description. So now we have to briefly wait to see what happens. And now it should actually, for the 3 companies, create a company description. So now it kind of executes a loop and 3 times it will execute this prompt where it will collect information on the internet. So that's why it's taking a bit of time. So let us briefly wait until this step is ready. Okay, and so now it has finished executing the loop, and now we can see here in output that indeed for the 3 different companies I now have a company description. So now I already has as output the company descriptions. So now we need one more step, namely now I want to kind of write this output back into my Google Sheets. So now we need to add an additional element. Again, we need to go to Google Sheets. And here we can now do append or update row in sheet. So that's what we need to do. So again, I have my credentials here. Resource is a sheet within a document. The operation I want to do is to append or update. The document is the company's document. The sheet is the sheet. Oh, yes, so it now goes to my sheet. That was not the purpose. So let me click on that here once more. So sheet 1. And now I need to indicate how it will map the different kind of variables in my n8n with my Google Sheet. And I typically want to do that manually. So then I need to have a matching column. Now we can use the name as the matching column. And then I also need to kind of go back to my initial variables in Google Sheets to indicate which columns need to be matched. Yeah? So name is this one, industries is this one, all text is this one, we have around, that's this one, amount is this one, we have founders, amount is this one, and now the output one is now our output here generated by the agent. Yeah, so now I have linked all the columns to my Google Sheet, and now we should be ready. So now let's execute the step. And so now we have execution, and it says node executed successfully. Yeah. So now my full workload has been executed, and now I can check my Google Sheet, and indeed you see now that in my Google Sheets in the column output the company descriptions have been added. So here you can see with a limited amount of clicks you can actually start generating an agentic workflow in n8n where you can define an AI agent that for you can go to the internet and find company descriptions. So I hope this gives a straightforward illustration of how you can start leveraging n8n for data collection for research projects. I hope this can give you kind of the motivation to start experimenting. As you could see, I really did not need to code. It was mainly clicking. So in that way, I think this is quite a straightforward way to start experimenting with agentic workflows. So I hope this can be helpful. Thanks for your attention. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you think this is interesting. And I hope to see you again in the next video. Thank you for your attention.